So that's the RPG side, now the FPS side. I've mentioned that there's missions where you go around killing things or you'll have to find something and pick it up, and I really don't want to spoil any of the missions off because the game's just magical. I really do think it's probably the best game to come out in about a decade, and had I actually played it before doing me top 20 all-time games, this would probably be in the top 5. So, combat on the game is standard FPS. You can zoom in, you can reload, you can shoot, and it is just like playing an FPS. So that's why I'm saying, if you've not really played RPGs before or don't like them, give it a go, because the gameplay is perfectly as acceptable type thing as Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I know acceptable is a very bad word because it's not giving either game enough credit, but I hope you get my meaning. It plays just like any other FPS, so if you're an FPS nut, go out, get it, because, as I say, Soldier, beginner's character, he'll ease you into it, and I'll be honest right from the start, my older brother absolutely despises RPGs. He's never liked playing them, he's always hated watching me on them, he's never understood why I've liked playing them, so when this came around with a split-screen co-op, it took about 5 months before he would finally accept to play it, which is why it's taken so long for me to actually get into the game. And now he's totally hooked. He's a full-on addict. He loves it. He loves how the RPG system works in it. He admits it's simplistic and it allows him to go slow, which obviously if you're not used to RPGs, then first up when you put it on and you've got all these stats, you'll be like, whoa, mindfuck, what the hell am I doing? But don't worry, it lets you go slow, it lets you go at your own pace. You know, you'll eventually learn what to do and how to do it, and I honestly think now I'll be able to get him into other RPGs. So, as I say then, combat, usual FPS style, missions, usual RPG style, you've got all the stats and that, the game's wonderful, but it's not perfect. And now comes the time that I will probably get ragged on by a load of people, but the game isn't perfect because it's got some massive flaws. One of them is difficulty. The game is really hard in some places, which is excellent. I like a challenge, but then it's stupidly easy in others. As you might have noticed, I'm running around killing enemies that are 10 levels lower than me. The enemies on the main game only go up to 50 and 51. So if you've got the DLC and you go above 50 and 51, you're always going to be above the levels of the enemies. But even more stupid is the fact that when I started the second playthrough, and that's the one where the enemies go up to 50, I started the second playthrough at about level 39, I think it was. The enemies were level 33. Why weren't they level 39? They could have been the same level as me, I know this for a fact, so why weren't they? The game will just go from being really hard to pathetically easy. It'll get to the point when you're not even breaking a sweat, you're not having to do anything, you don't really have to care about healing yourself because you won't need it, and the fact that you'll have got hurt you'll be embarrassed by. So I don't see why they can't do a patch to make it so that the enemies are the same level as you throughout the game, because on the first playthrough they only pretty much go up to level 35, I think it is. It might be lower than that. So if you do all the side quests and kill all the enemies and are really good at the game, you will eclipse the enemies and they'll never get better. You will always be able to go through and totally destroy them. It got to the point that after I'd done the section Old Haven, which fans will know it, non-players won't, so I might as well, to be fair, quickly teleport there, but after doing Old Haven, the game didn't get hard because I'd leveled up so much from how hard Old Haven was at the time, because I was pretty much getting me butt raped, I was getting destroyed by them, that once I beat them, the game just didn't get hard because I'd eclipsed the level rank. So they never got higher. I was always higher than them, and it was pathetic. So this is Old Haven, and you might be wondering what's special about it. Well, basically you're fighting an enemy type that up until that point you'd only seen in pictures. They're covered in armour, and the whole point is, and I might as well tell you this because it does actually tell you in the hints and tips, that you have to use corrosive weapons against them. So this section was really hard because we didn't have any corrosive weapons at the time because we didn't know we were coming up to them, and I'm not telling you when you come up to it, but it got really hard. We got stuck on a mission, couldn't find one of the levers in here because that's another downside. The checkpoint system, basically at the bottom middle of the screen you've got the map which shows the radar and the enemies. When you've got a mission active, it shows a diamond and the diamond takes you somewhere. There are some missions where the diamond takes you completely the wrong direction. It's miles away from where the actual objective is, and it is a nightmare to then find things like in here when you're getting shot from all angles because the enemies are constant, they never stop. So when you're trying to find 4 switches and you just can't find one and you can't think straight because you're currently getting killed, you eventually start killing so many enemies that you level up to the point that they're not hard anymore. So then, as I say, the rest of the game wasn't hard because we had eclipsed their level. Not even the DLC, the General Nox DLC, it's the third pack that was released. You fight these enemies again, and even that, the difficulty fluctuates. It starts off insanely hard because you get in a car, you get blown up after about one shot, it seems, because the other cars are so hard, it's unbelievable, they're so overpowered. But then it gets to the point that it's ridiculously easy until you come up against a boss, a certain boss called Chromorax, and I hope I've pronounced that right. Chromorax is a big giant purple lobster crab type thing. He is really hard the first time you fight him. After that, I've now got to the point that I can kill him quite easily on my own without breaking a sweat under about 5 minutes. So again, the difficulty fluctuates all the time. It's something I don't like. Something else I don't like, you may have already seen, the game lags like a bitch, even offline. How the hell is that possible? I'll tell you how. It's too big, it's too advanced, it needs an install. Fantastic game, and as I say, praising it by saying it's big and advanced, but it needs an install. The PS3 is capable of it. Why don't PS3 gamers get the option of doing it? Because it really does need one. It stops so many lagging problems, so many crashing problems, because the game likes to crash out like a bitch as well, especially on the new DLC, which is plagued with glitches. Literally, it gets to the point that you'll pretty much want to give up with playing it, because you'll go and try and teleport like this, and it'll crash, totally crash your system out, you have to reboot, or you'll manage to drive along in the car and get stuck in a wall, or you'll get stuck under a bridge where you can't move, and it's just insanely buggy. They need to do a patch for it, and since I started playing it, which I finally got around to playing it in February, it's now May, there's not been a patch, and there needs to be. Not even for an install, although I'd love that, because Bayonetta done it, Sega done it with Bayonetta, I mean. But just to fix some of the glitches that the game has. One of the other things that's not perfect about it is the fact that people can exploit these glitches to hack. The level cap at the moment is level 61 if you've got the Nox DLC. There are people who are level 70 going around with shields with over 6 billion, so they are physically impossible to kill. They're complete and utter arseholes, and I say this out of the fact that they come onto your games, they'll try to kick the crap out you, constantly dueling you. If you go into their games, they'll kick you. If you go into their games to try and kill Chromorax, because when you do it, you get a load of weapons, then after you've helped them kill the big bad boss, they'll kick you, because apparently they need 300 and odd weapons. They're complete and utter arseholes, they ruin the online, and it's a shame. One of the other things, to be fair, that ruins the online is the game lags like a bitch offline. Well, it lags even worse online. This is the only PlayStation game I've ever experienced major lag. I've always praised the PSN over the the Xbox Live service, because I've always had access to both, well, since they came out, obviously, and I've pretty much always enjoyed the PSN more than Live, yet this game lags all over the place. So yeah then, I've mentioned the online, and before I finish up, because there's only a couple things left to say, all I can say is I apologise if you can hear things in the background. I've started this review, so I'm damn well going to finish it, but there appears to be some argy-bargy in the back, and there's dogs barking and that, so you might be able to hear things. If so, I apologise. What can I say? I don't have a professional sound recording studio that's soundproof, you know? So anyway, so as I say, I've mentioned the online, I've mentioned the annoying hackers, and there's pretty much few other things to mention about the game. I'll quickly give a rundown of the DLCs because I know that people will be interested in them. The first one is this one. It's called Dr. Ned's Zombie Island. It is, as you can imagine, a horror movie style thing. You've got zombies, you've got were-skags, which skags you'll meet them at the start of the game, and you've got werewolf versions of them. It's really cool. And yeah, that's pretty much that then. The missions on it are great. It's pretty decent length. It's about 6 hours in each playthrough. It's easily my favourite of the 3 DLC packs.